Listen here, you killers of the undead, the new Call of Duty Zombies. Exo-zombies, actually. Gameplay trailer's dropped, so guys, enjoy it. I'm gonna be breaking it down, and this motherfucker's gonna stop texting me!
When Atlas dropped the bomb, they hoped it would finish the war. Instead, it unleashed a freak show like no one's ever seen.
What the hell?
Get me security.
This is a code for re-evacuation. Remember the drill.
More my speed.
You still hungry?
Want some more?
Damn, dirty zombies!
Holy shit!
I fucking hate the Atlas Corporation.
Alright, ladies and gentlemen, so this breakdown is going to be quicker than the last one, so we're going to jump into the key components of this game. Straight away, the electric zombies do exactly what they thought they'd do. They immobilize your exosuit, kind of like an EMP. What I'm thinking is that maybe like when you used to kill a Nova Crawler and the gas exploded when you shot them, the electricity will explode out of these guys and EMP you. But if you melee them, maybe you won't get electrically EMP'd and you will just be able to continue using your exosuit. If you do get attacked, you have to reboot your exosuit, which is going to absolutely suck, which then begs the question of, if your exosuit is tied in with your perks, do you lose all your perks, aka Juggernog, when they, I'll talk about that perk possibly still being in the game at the end, does that disappear as well? Now, this screen grab alone doesn't just show us about the EMP rebooting of the suits and stuff. We also see kill streaks around the map, or score streaks as you want to call them, looking awesome. We're on round 16, which is pretty cool. This guy is actually try-harding his tits off, but we actually have the double points, as you can see below. So that's nice to know it's come back. It's got a new different look to it, which is nice. You know, they're doing zombies, but they're doing their little twist of things. But something that's noticeable in the background, and this is why I love doing these breakdowns of these trailers, is look in the background to the left. There's a new perk machine, bitches. So if we take a mother truck and look at that thing over in the background, we can actually see that this looks like almost the Colonel badge, you know, the high-ranking thing, award, that rank, yep, that you can actually get in the army and stuff like that. Now, if I'm wondering, like, wings and everything like that, is that not just basically the symbol for the hover perk ability in your exosuit? Now, it could be something completely different. It might be allow you to make you know, jump higher or something like that, but because we've seen exo abilities coming into this, then who's to say that that's simply not the hover ability? So when you're in a bit of a tight situation, you can simply jump in the air, hover around for a bit, wait for the zombies to run away and go somewhere else, and then you can just escape. Cool. Now, switching over to this gameplay scene, we can see here is laser beams. Laser beams. You know, I'm doing the quotation marks with my fingers. But what's going on here is, like, you're probably going to be able to activate it, you know, pay a few thousand points or something. Activate it. It goes around everywhere. You've got to be careful not to walk in it, or it'll probably, you know, hurt you or kill you. And as we can see to the zombies, it's taking off their legs, which is awesome. I don't know if it takes off any other body parts, but it's debatable whether or not it kills them straight up, or whether, you know, it just takes out the legs and turns them into a crawler, which is pretty cool. We also have the ability in the bottom that you can see that it picked up, you know, like the power up, like the insta-kill, the double points. It picked that up, and it's a bit like, we still don't totally know what it is, so I'm kind of just, like, you know, leaving it to be like, I don't know, maybe. I'm thinking that it does look like a battery that's overpowered, you know, so say, like, if you've got an exosuit, it allows you to use your exosuit suit to have unlimited and rechargeability to it. I'm just going to throw that out there. So, you know, say you use all your sprint on your exosuit like in multiplayer. If you pick this up, you know, it just recharges it, that sort of thing. So let's go for that. That's my call. So another thing to point out actually in this gameplay is that in the background, you can see on the wall that the image says biohazard warning 83%. Now, that could just be there to say, oh, there was a biohazard warning and out came the zombies and all that sort of stuff. But maybe if that reaches 100%, it could lead into something happening, you know, like a big boss could come out. Now, later on, you'll see what looks to be sort of like the big tank boss of the game, but there could also be the hidden agenda of there is a secret boss and it's going to come and kick your ass, because they're showing a lot of stuff now for Exo Zombies in these trailers and gameplays because it's really close to being released. But do they want to show us everything they got, or are they going to hold off and be like, aha, bitches, when it gets to 100%, you guys are fucked? So that's one thing to throw out there. It could also tie into, you know, like an actual ending if it reaches to 100% and it's, you know, too biohazardy to actually be in the room and in this building and stuff. You actually got to escape. Say a helicopter comes to pick you up. I don't know, something like that. There could possibly be a viable ending. So there's that. Alright, time to get to some more interesting stuff here, people. We can actually see what looks like the power being activated, and when the power is activated, you can then go and obtain your exosuit. Now, as to if you lose it, I believe you might be able to go down. If you go down, you know, you die, you respawn in, you won't have your exosuit, you have to go and collect it. Because in the other zombies, you could just go and buy perks. I believe what's going on here is that, you know, perks and the whole, you know, like sort of magic behind Call of Duty Zombies is going to leave Exo Zombies. It doesn't exist. There's going to be now a science behind everything. In this instance, we can actually see you obtain your exosuit. So if you know you die, you don't have an exosuit, so you have to go and get one to then be able to have these exo abilities. So, you know, in the past, you could just go drink Juggernog and it's like, okay, you now have this magical thing to make you survive getting hit by zombies. In this thing, this is their science behind it. You can now be like a superhuman by having the suit, which is really, really cool. So I believe you have to activate the power, obtain the suit, and then you can run around and go and kill all mad bitches. Another thing to say is that it might be given the option to players to say, you know what, I want to play Call of Duty Zombies, but I don't want to have the exosuit ability on, you know, I want to just be able to run around, do whatever I want. I don't want perks, I don't want to have to be like jumping, double jumping and all that, and you just simply don't go and get the exosuit and you'll just play normally. Because if you've ever played Advanced Warfare and you're actually playing it and you play the game mode where you don't have an exosuit, then it's just like playing normal Call of Duty. So maybe that's the option, who knows. But what I see when I watch this gameplay segment here is a score streak coming down. We see our aerial drone in the air shooting bitches, causing fire and havoc, which is absolutely epic. But a really interesting thing to see about this is that this guy doesn't just have a random exosuit, he has an exosuit with a perk which looks to be like a ground damage ability. So I'm assuming that this may be like our PhD flopper. Now if you can see it on the right hand side now, that looks like PhD flopper. They're in a sense, because it looks like, you know, a ground pound with an explosion coming out the ground, which is absolutely epic. And we haven't got any evidence to say what this is going to be like or what the effect is or anything like that. We've simply not seen it, but they're giving us these little teasers to say, hey, look, this is here. What do you think it could do? And that's exactly what I think it could do. You could hit the ground, it could electric shock the ground, you could hit the ground, it could cause an explosion. There is so much that it could do. So not only have we seen the score streak in the air on its own, and you don't have to control it, because as we can see, it's flying around, he's called in and he's playing single player, which is awesome. We also see that this guy might have the futuristic version of Pack-a-Punch. Now, the futuristic version of Pack-a-Punch, as we can see here, he's got the MK2, that's green, but then he also has the MK8, which is like, oh my gosh, did this guy manage to upgrade his gun? Because we see him playing on round 5 with an MK, you know, like 2, and then round 13 playing on an MK8. Did he work his way from an MK1 all the way to an MK8 over time by going to a machine, saying, I'm going to upgrade, you know, paying to put on more damage? Is he paying to put on more accuracy, more rate of fire, anything like that? Because it'd be really cool to see if we can customize our guns the way we want. Say you have 1 point per gun upgrade to allocate damage or, you know, range or speed. So if you want a crap load of points, you could do rate of fire. If you want to do loads of damage, then you put it on, you know, damage, that sort of thing. Like points to allocate would be absolutely epic, and I'm hoping that happens. Another theory for this could be behind the actual new mystery box, which we're looking at being a 3D printing box. So everyone's going to be like, get to the printer, rather than get to the mystery box, which is going to be a little bit weird. Obviously, everyone's going to call it the mystery box. But that'll be really cool to see how that works out, because as we've seen supply drops, and this may also tie in with it, when you open a supply drop, you get a random, you know, a random gun every single time. You know, like, well, if you do get weapons, you get different weapons that has different damage, you know, different look to it, all this sort of stuff. So that's key concept of giving you random things every time could be like that. But also in the mystery box, who's to say that if you spin the mystery box, you don't actually get a random gun every single time? So it's not just, oh, I got the standard pistol. It's, oh, maybe I got the standard pistol this time, but it's the MK8 version of it rather than the MK2. So there you go. Now, like before, I was talking about 3D printing being the new mystery box, because as you can see here, this guy, you know, he's bought a gun, it's flicking through it, we're seeing it, checking it out, and it's absolutely awesome, because Treyarch's way of things where, you know, everything is mystical and mysterious, and it's a little bit random, you know, and it took it on the storyline of, we can make anything happen. At first, it started off, you know, being like, this one little room where they had, you know, this box where you could get guns from. That was cool. They didn't really have much of a storyline to it. That was just that. But then when they started to develop it, it started to be, you know, like a bit sciencey at first, but then it took like a weird mystical route and things just being a little bit random to, you know, like work their way out. But now, this version from Sledgehammer Games is the whole, in my eyes, the realistic, you know, real way of doing it. And I just want to point out, this guy's got like 9k points on round 2, which is goddamn epic. This guy's a beast. I was playing the game, I swear to gosh. So imagine that plot twist. I was actually know everything, but I'm just not telling you guys. I've played it already. Everyone will be like, that explains so much. Why does he know these things? But anyway, getting back on track. But Treyarch could do whatever they want, for Christ's sake. They could blow up the earth. Oh wait, they did. You know, they can do them sort of things. They can make the whole thing of Samantha being mind controlling of zombies and all this random stuff. You know, like just craziness. But now, Sledgehammer have got this ability to say, okay, we're going to make a zombie storyline, or just zombies in general, which is all realistic. There was an outbreak of people that were experimenting on from the Undead or something like that. It's broken out. This is how it's going. Kind of just like how it worked in, you know, Darius. They were working on making super soldiers for Hitler, but it didn't go right. And then they escaped, but then the storyline just took a fucking tumble for the weirdness, which was great. People loved it, and I still loved it. But this might be interesting to see their serious take on it. You know, there's a 3D printer for guns. That explains their mystery box. You want these super abilities for your actual person of having more, you know, like the ability to get points and stuff like that. Then, you know, sorry, we'll not say points, like perks. It's built into your exosuit. It just kind of makes sense. So it's really cool to see the kind of approach they're taking on this. And I kind of like fully support it, to be honest, because it's going to be really interesting to see like where they take this, you know, like when they introduce new guns, new bosses, new maps and stuff like that. And, you know, just new things to do. We'll see their science behind it of saying, oh, this is this new weapon. It does this because it uses this technology. You know, there could be a gun, for example, that uses solar technology because they've already got one that uses 3D printing. So if you stand outside, then you get unlimited ammo, but then if you're inside, you don't get unlimited ammo, you know, that sort of thing. It would be really cool to see the science behind what they do. Now, we've already seen the effects of the electric zombie, you know, being the EMP zombie, but now we're actually seeing a green-eyed zombie, which is a little bit weird because we didn't actually see this in anything else, and this is like an acid-exploding zombie. Now, as to say this just does a crazy amount of damage when it gets up close to you is like, I don't know, but it just seems to trigger itself off, and then you have like a time limit to be able to get away from the area of it. Now, this could be really useful. This could be like a zombie, like a boomer, for example, that you can use to your advantage. If you've got a load of zombies next to you, you know, you get that running over, get it to explode, you dive out of the way with your exo ability, and boom, it takes them all out. But that's really cool to see. It's on fire, which is random, so this could kind of be like one that just randomly runs in out of nowhere, and it's not like one comes every round, you know, like if you think about the Inferno zombies from Shangri-La and stuff like that, and Screechers, this could be like one of them how it just comes out of nowhere, pops out of a wall, and it's like, surprise, motherfucker! You've really got to give it to these guys because they give you so little amount of footage, but they contain so much, because right now we're seeing our player run onto what seems to be a decontamination pad, you know, like you see it in all sci-fi movies and stuff like that, which leads me to believe, like, can you weirdly get infected of sorts to the point where you're getting damaged and getting damaged, i.e. maybe linking back to that zombie, the acid zombie that we just saw explode. If it attacks you, you constantly keep getting damaged until you go and like decontaminate yourself, otherwise you're just going to end up dying. It like gives you an objective to say, oh, I have to run all the way back over here, I'm going to die. And if you think about that, that's kind of taken into consideration how when they did Moon with Treyarch zombies, if you didn't take down, you know, the airlock getting destroyed, then you ran out of oxygen. So in this case, if you don't go and clean yourself up and be a clean woman, you know, because you're gonna look good and feel good, then you'll die. Simple as that. Another cool thing to point out in these in this that I left in it was you know, what looks to either be a trap or just a really dangerous door that's got some malfunction, chopping the zombies in half, you know, so it can be used to your advantage, which is pretty cool. So shout outs to the shutting doors, trapping people in half. Would not like to see that happen in real life. We've also got a gun in the background, but then also I just wanted to point out that this guy's holding an LMG, which looks badass as fuck. It's probably one of the ones from the actual multiplayer, but like I said, I don't really use the LMGs that much, so I've not really used it. And then again, she's using dual SMGs, which is pretty badass. It could be dual pistols or, you know, machine pistols, but it's nice to see that we got some double weapons back in there. You know, like we used to have CZ75s and stuff like that. So yeah, that should be pretty cool. One thing I want to point out is, do you reckon we'll get an epic first gun pack a punch like Mustang and Sally? And if we do, will it pay homage to Mustang and Sally? That'd be cool. Now here is the big bad wolf of the game. We're assuming he's the most powerful, the most damaging, and you just want to avoid this guy like a mother trucker. And the fact that there's not only one is pretty nuts because these guys look pretty fast and, you know, like I said, very damaging. Now I'm going to tie this in with the biohazard warning percentage sign that we saw on the wall before. That was actually in the same room as where you got your exosuit from, and as you can see, where on the left hand side, that is actually where you obtain the exosuit. There could be more than one room to obtain it, but I'm assuming it's just one spot, like it would sound like it would be. Now, when this reaches 100% this level, do you randomly see these guys, you know, just go absolutely crazy because they were normal zombies, but then, like, levels just went over the top and they dived out and then they're just absolute beefcakes? Could that tie into how these guys just are randomly so big and so strong? They could just be steroid heads that just lift at the gym, but I'm thinking it ties in with the percentage of, you know, the biohazard warning. The number on the wall may not change. It may just completely be there for aesthetic looks, and that's what caused the normal outbreak in the first place, but it'd be cool to see if that actually does, you know, like, tie into this. And another thing to say is, with these, you know, biohazard warning percentage levels being in certain areas, it'd be nice to know if, you know, how with training and zombies and stuff like that, you stay in the same room, you could stay there the whole time, and stay there the whole time, and stay there the whole time. What if this is their way of stopping you from being in the same room the whole time? Every single room has a biohazard warning in it, or nearly every single room does or something, or, you know, like the best rooms to be able to train in have biohazard warnings in it, and when it reaches 100%, these guys come running out, and you basically have to just get the fuck out of there, otherwise they'll just destroy you. That's just how it works. So that could be their way of making you move around the map, which is pretty interesting. But talking about things around the map, here is our first look at Juggernog. Call of Duty put it on their Twitter last night, which is pretty awesome, and we can check it out. It's going to be obviously what I can assume is going to be our Juggernog. We don't have the name of it, we don't have anything like that, but here it is. This is it. This is what we're going to want to get our hands on to take more hits from them zombies. Obviously, we're not going to let them get us attacked or touched, but in case we kind of need it, here it is. Pretty awesome. In detail, it looks kind of badass. And it'll be interesting to see, like, how you pick it up. Do you simply just walk over, buy it, and you've got it straight away? Or do you have to, like, sit in it and install it into your Exo? So, who knows? So all in all, really, this has been a pretty awesome gameplay trailer. We've seen loads of things. Right now, we're seeing insta-kill below, which is pretty epic. You know, we're in action, just smashing that guy's face to pieces. We can see the Atlas symbol in the background again. And just loads of little things. Throughout this trailer, you could see guns on the wall, left, right, and center. You could see new weapons that we could get our hands on and stuff like that. But it wasn't exactly too interesting to kind of point out. I just wanted to show, like, the key features of this gameplay trailer, and I've had a really good time breaking it down. There's been so much information, and as you guys know, I love to go in depth with it, so that's just about that. I'm trying to raise £133,337 for charity right now, so I've got to go on stream and get that goal reached, because when I get 13,337, 10% of it, I've got to dye my hair blue or purple, so that's going to be interesting. But yeah, guys, I hope you enjoyed it nonetheless. If you did, please be sure to leave a like rating. If you are someone who watches zombies and stuff like that on my channel, like any zombie sort of stuff I put out, you know, leave a comment, let me know what your thoughts are, and if you're liking what I'm doing. And yeah, leave a like rating, because it's just a little thing you can do which really shows me that, you know, you're supportive. And this sort of shit takes forever to do, breaking things down and everything, but I really love it. You can tell my passion for it. Like, I could do an hour-long video breaking this down. I was actually tempted to do that as like a podcast and bring some other people on, and we might do that if we're going to talk about the future of zombies. Like if I bring like Waffles and you know, some other people on board, it'd be pretty interesting to see what our minds can like conduct together, or concoct, conjure up to get. We'll go with conjure up. So yeah, I'm pretty stoked, guys. Thank you very much for watching. I love you guys' faces. Make sure to click that subscribe button, and I'll see you guys hopefully in the next video of zombies being a gameplay video, because I think it's going to skip straight to that rather than give us another trailer, but we'll just have to wait and see. Fuck yeah!